Here's a tutorial for anybody interested in playing One Winged Angel on ukulele. For this arrangement, I'm going to try going slow and kind of walk through it. This is the first time I've ever done one of these, so bear with me. And sorry if it's terrible video quality, because I don't know what I'm doing. To start with, the tuning for the guitar for the ukulele is going to be low G, which basically means that most ukuleles have this high string here, but the low G is just one octave lower. So with that, it goes low to high. Pretty simple. But this was basically made from a guitar arrangement, so it's easier to have a lower string and you have a wider range. So that's how I like to use it. For a lot of this song, there is a drone. There's a note just kind of playing, and it's the same note in the background while another one is doing the main tune. And I think that's important for the whole overall feel. But if you're trying to do something and you're just not super confident, you might want to simplify it, and that's okay. Go ahead and try to do it simple as possible, and then work up to some of the fancier stuff. For the first little bit, it's basically 2 notes. For the whole chord, I have 2, 3, 5 open. Now this is basically 1 note, an octave, and the same. And then it's got this other one thrown in. So if you really need to simplify, you can play the beginning with the 2, 3. Just 2 notes. If you don't want to put your pinky all the way up there, then you can just kind of mute this string and play it like this. The way I play it, I pluck and then I strum. I pluck 3 and then I strum all 4. And the next part, now for this next part, you're probably going to want to use 2 fingers for plucking here. Or you can try just alternating, but the way that it's written is so an alternative to doing that double pluck, that triplet, is just alternate with the open string. Now there's a lot of hammer-ons in this. Some people are very good at plucking very quick. I'm not, so I do a lot of hammer-ons. And a lot of these fancy parts you can gloss over. You can try just sticking with the main chords, and it should be fine. So again, we've got this drone, and if you can't coordinate the 2, try playing it without, and then try it after you've kind of got that basic other part down. Now this next part is really odd because it's 7/8 time. Go slow and just do your best and don't freak out. This is kind of an important part for the drone just because there's nothing else going on. part where you have the chord played 4 times in a row, but a little bit differently each time. You pluck the first time, you flick it, you tap it, and then you flick it again. And this is probably the main part of the whole song. Everybody loves this part. This is one that I play almost all the strings. If you need to simplify it, don't be afraid to. So it may help just to play the low note. And that's a way to do it a little simpler, or you could try doing a couple. But the way that it's written is a full chord. Slide up, finger's going to be across the 10s, and then pinky up on 13. Then off. There's a lot of droning here with that open string. Back up. And then we go back to that chorded part. Back up. Now the second time through, we play some higher notes here. This is another time where you've got a drone, and if you want to, you can just go with the Sephiroth, just to simplify or just to get the basics down. It goes again, and when you start here, you end on 10, which is where that chord comes back to. Or if you're playing the whole thing, here's another drone part, but it's on the 8. You may notice that a lot of these parts repeat twice. And then we go back to those chords. Now notice this shape. You got it just in a stepwise. Each one is just one lower on the fretboard. This is a common shape in this whole song. And when I get to this part, I just put my fingers over the whole thing. Some people would probably rather do all 3 like this. It's easier for me just to lay my fingers across. Back to the Sephiroth, 10 and 13, pinky or ring finger. This time, we get to do some hammer-ons. Start with open. It's at the 10. You can pull off or you can pluck. And you get down here and it jumps right back up. And this time, it drops down to the 4. And you've got some of that droning, and then it builds up. And it drops down. This is another time where it drones with your finger on the 2nd fret. And again, if you want to keep it a little bit simpler when you're first trying it, don't worry about that drone just yet. Now here, when you get to this part, you're going to slide up. But the way I like to do it is the ring finger. So if you put it on this string and just kind of slide up to the 9, it's in position. And I start with my middle finger here at this point. And the way it's written is 9, open 8. And then it drops down, slides down. And that allows the pinky for the higher one up on 10. And then I follow it, I pull it down instead of using another finger. And again, if you want to simplify this without this up here on the 9, then you can slide up here and then focus on the high string. But when you get to this part, then you've been doing the tune up here on the high string, but now you're going to do it on the low string. And this one just kind of walks down half a step at a time. So you can try going up with your pinky. For me, it's easier just to go up with the fingers I've been using here. I've got the ring and the pointer, and I just kind of use my pinky to start it. Let's slide up. And then more drum. This next part is a fun part. It's tricky because you've got some drones. Starts out with a drone up high and then it goes down low. But the first time through, I like to play it just one string. And here you see my hand stays in the same position most of the time. It's pinky, it's ring finger, it's pointer finger. But here, it's a pull off from the pinky to the ring. Then it slides down and comes back up. And then we go to the next one. And my fingers are going to stay in the same position for this part, just down a little bit lower, but on a higher string. And it's the second time around that I like to throw in the drone, just because it seems a little bit more intense when you're doing that. So you're down here, you slide back up here to the 11th fret. And it's tricky not to mute this string with your finger, so it takes some practice. And here it's quick jump, it just slides up one, then it drops. And then that 2 stays there and forms a bar across, because now you're going to play some more notes while staying on this. Unbar, back to the bar. Then we're on to just slide up one more. And you can play this different ways. What I've done here is I've muted this string with my pinky, or you can do your ring finger, but it's muted, and you can just strum it. I do a slow strum, or you can do it pluck. So after this part, you drop back down, and you're going to be moving a little bit quicker on some of these parts. And again, I do a lot of pull-offs because my fingers just aren't that fast for plucking. So pull off, hammer on, pull off. Now this this one's kind of a tricky part, but your fingers are in the same shape the whole time. So your fingers are up here, your ring finger's at that 7th fret. And then it drops 2 frets, but they all drop together. Up 3. Back to the starting point. Back down. And this time you go way up to 10. And back down to that little fast part. Now this one's kind of tricky because each chord changes just a little bit, so you have to pay attention. Slide up. And then this chord is the same, but you're building intensity, so you might want to start out small and get big. And then 1 all the way across. Now this next part is pretty tricky. Starting out, it's not too bad, but then it gets worse. Here, muting is where it just kind of touches the end of the string here, makes it so it doesn't ring out so well. But this is a good technique for this. And the way that I start out here is with my middle finger on 7. And then all the notes here are pretty close to each other. This one's a bit of a reach. Now the next part is where it gets really tricky, and this is a place where if you're not super advanced, you might just want to play one part and then the next. So once you go through that 2 times, then you go into the next part. Why? Because you're basically trying to play 2 totally separate lines at the same time, and it's tricky. Now, I think it's a great goal to be able to play it. Don't be afraid to try. Play it at home. Nobody's watching. Have fun. But I start out here with my ring finger on the 7. Instead of my middle finger, I'm not going to use the same fingering. It's actually going to be a little different. So I start out ring and or pointer and pinky. So first, then the 8 here, and then both of these drop down. And then you hit that 8 again, but instead of this finger, the middle finger, is the ring finger. So what you're playing for the first part of that is not the same fingering that you're going to have for this next part. I don't think you can do it that way. So it goes like this. You can see how sometimes my hand is sliding up and down, just one, changing position, but it's not going far. Now this one's a bit of a stretch, up to 13, 7 to 13. And you still got to stretch to 10. Slide. Back to our favorite Sephiroth part. This time, you definitely want the drone. Now we throw in a harmonic. What's a harmonic? Well, you basically cut the string in half. Instead of pushing it all the way down, you just lightly touch it and pluck. So if you pushed it down, it would make this sound. But you don't push it down. So it's the same tone, but it sounds different. I don't know how to explain how that works and why it works, but you basically make it so that right here, the string can't vibrate. So instead it vibrates here, and it vibrates here, and so it cuts the string shorter. Now you could play it up higher, and then like here, it cuts it into 3 equal parts. But simple, usually the 12th fret is pretty simple. So that harmonic touch and pluck, then a whole bunch more of that drone. Back again. Coming up on the end here, we're back to this chord. This is the chord where you go with, I don't even know what to call this part, but the part where you go. Well, we're not doing that, but it's the same chord. So you start here, a good strong strum, and then you start out kind of small and building up. Pause for a little bit, then you hit that open string, and you're going to make a chord here. So the way I like to play it is pinky here on 4, ring on 3, pointer on 2, because we're going to go to 3. We're going to go back up a fret, but we're still going, so this comes off of the 2 and goes to the 1, and then off. Slide on up, and that's the whole thing. That's the end. Good luck. I'm going to try and re-record the whole song so it's nice and smooth, straightforward. You can play along. If it's just really tricky, slow it down. The best thing you can do is learn how to play something through nice and slow and gradually speed up to the speed that you want to be at. If you go slow and get everything nice and slow, your fingers get some muscle memory and know, okay, well, this is the next part. And then you just gradually speed it up and your body knows what to do. So good luck. Hope you had fun. I hope you have great success. Don't forget to post your final result. I'd love to see it.